tell us, what is Jewish pride? Or what it should be, actually?
It's a very good question. And the fact that there isn't a clear answer is a very sad state of affairs.
Mm.
Probably the result of years and years of persecution. We don't even know if we're entitled to have any pride. We're afraid to have pride. Because if we have any pride, somebody's going to come and destroy it, take it away, like they always have. So the fact that there is any pride left is a miracle, truly a miracle. And that's what we should be proud of. We should be proud of the fact that we still have some pride after all that abuse. But 2,000 years of being told that we are wrong, we are bad, we are evil, we're the worst, the lowest. No matter how much you deny it, it kind of, it's got to get through your defenses, and it settles into your own heart and mind, and you start to believe it. Some people, some Jews went so far as not only to believe it, but to actually excel in it. Yes, we are the worst. And they become the biggest anti-Semites, because nobody is as anti-Semitic as a Jewish anti-Semite. But that's the result of all that damage, which is indescribable. It's not believable. It's like a fantasy soap opera but it's true. Yes, we've been through that kind of persecution. We have to heal. Now, it's almost laughable and ridiculous to say, after the Holocaust, which came after 2,000 years of various forms of persecution, it's time to heal. Like, what are you kidding? There's some kind of a cruel joke. There's no healing after that. It's not possible. And yet, the Rebbe, more than any individual, said, okay, time to heal. The pain was real, it was horrible, it was terrible, but now, time to heal. Why? Because all of that was the history of exile. Now we're ready for Geula, for redemption. Mashiach is coming. Time to heal. And of course, nobody believed it. Oh, it's very sweet to say that, but be realistic. We're not healing. Maybe we need to assimilate more. Stop being so Jewish. It's not working. Come on, how many times do you have to be hit over the head before you get it into your head that being Jewish is just not possible? The world won't let you. Give it up. Stop already. What really helped in the healing process was the 6-Day War. You would think the War of Independence, the war in 48, which was against all odds, impossible, just biblical miracles. And yet it didn't do much for Jewish pride all over the world. The 6-Day War, there was something magical about it. Maybe because we had mass communication, everybody could tune in. I remember sitting glued to the radio after the war, listening to the UN debate and how Abba Eban made everybody else sound like school children. He was so good. So what was it about the 6-Day War? I think it was the media. In 48, you heard the news, you didn't hear the news, nobody told you the news, you heard it a month later. But in 67, we were right on top of it. We knew the problem, we knew the danger, we felt it, we felt the miracles, we felt the victory. And all over the world, Jews became healthier psychologically, emotionally, mentally. We became healthier. We're not victims, or we don't have to be victims. It was really a cathartic experience. But all these years later, and we still don't have the pride that we need to have. And that's because what was the pride that we gained from the 6-Day War? We're not sheep that you can lead to slaughter. We have the greatest army. We have the greatest victory in military history. God is on our side. Those were the feelings. The exact opposite of the Holocaust. Because of the Holocaust, I guess God is not on our side. He's on the side of the Germans, God forbid. And no, we are not capable of protecting ourselves and defending ourselves. We did a horrible job. Okay, the Warsaw Ghetto was a good attempt, but it was a disaster. So what happened? Now all of a sudden we are proud of our army. We're proud that we can defend ourselves. We're proud of our country. We're still not proud of being Jewish. So you have all these books about great Jewish personalities in history. And who are they? Great singers, great musicians, great scientists, great writers. What about a great Jew? We don't even know what that means. Great at what? At being Jewish. Well, what's that? That a talent? How much talent does it take to be Jewish? So that last answer that somebody gave you, we have to be proud of our sages, of the Gemara, of the Talmud, of the holy people in our history, of everybody who contributed goodness to the world, and we are way ahead on that count. So we have to be proud of the wisdom of the Torah. There is no wisdom like it. So if you really want to know something and you want to be smart, stop reading the secular books. Those are experimental theories, not true wisdom. Sounds good. It's well said. It's lyrical. But it doesn't compare to the wisdom of our sages. Yeah, 2,000 years ago, our sages understood life today better than we understand it ourselves. Awesome people. Awesome goodness. And what they said about God was accurate. If you can't be proud of that, how many people, how many movements, how many religions speak in the name of God, and they're so ungodly? Has nothing to do with God. When our sages said something about God or in God's name, it was real, it was true, and it still is. So if anybody wants to know about God, there's only one place to go. To the Gemara, the Mishnah, the Zohar, the saints of all the generations. That's what we need to be proud of. Every mitzvah in the Torah is an absolute truth, eternally real and true. It always was true, it always will be true, and there is nothing else in the world like it. So we have to be proud, not of our singers and dancers and actors and musicians, although, they're pretty talented. And also comedians. The Jewish comedians.
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
Yeah, they're pretty funny.
Oh, yeah. The best of the best. Maybe we even invented humor when the world became humorless. But that's not Jewish pride. That's proud of Jews, not Jewish pride. Jewish pride means it is awesome to be Jewish. Is that racist? Is that arrogance, chauvinism? Maybe. I don't care. I'd rather be a proud chauvinist than an apologetic Jew, right? So fine if it borders on arrogance. So the arrogance of a Jew never hurt anybody. If it's arrogance about being Jewish. Yeah, if you're arrogant about how rich you are, that can hurt people. But if you're arrogant about the Jewishness, it won't do any damage. It'll only make you a better person to everybody else. I can imagine a person who says, America, the United States of America, is the best country that ever existed in all of history. It is the greatest country. It has the greatest freedoms. It has the greatest success. It is the richest. It is the on and on and on and on. Arrogant? Yeah. But then I want to ask this person a personal question. Are you a good American? Not really. Certainly not the best. So you have the arrogance of being an American and the humility of knowing that you're not the best American. We should be very arrogant about being Jews. But you ask the individual Jew, so are you from the better Jews? I don't think so. And that just makes me even more proud to be part of the Jewish people. Because individually, privately, I'm not so impressive. But the people, the nation, the history, the godliness, the relationship with God, oh yeah. Nothing better in the world. Is that arrogance? Not personal arrogance. So you can have both.
To me, Judaism is knowledge. It's this amazing knowledge that we cannot get anywhere except from our books, from the Torah and, as you said, Mishnah and Talmud. Why are people not so receptive yet?
There are some who are not receptive. I think the vast majority are receptive. And the ones who are not, it's self-defense. They're afraid to trust. They're afraid to believe. And they're afraid to be proud. That's part of the damage. So they've become cynical. Like one person actually said it out loud. We're talking about the learning, the knowledge, the sages, the wisdom, the writings. So others were saying, it's old-fashioned, it's not so. But this guy said it out straight. He said, and what good did all that knowledge do us? There was a Holocaust. So it's not denying the wisdom, it's a cynicism. Like, what good is being smart? They beat you up anyway. So that's the damage. That's the pain speaking, not the mind. I will tell you an interesting little story. When they came to arrest the previous Rebbe in Russia, the arresting officers were Jews, two Jewish guys. They were big machers in the Communist Party and the Sektia, and they came to arrest him. So they did a search. They put a guard, an armed guard at the door. No one is allowed to leave. Whoever walks in is a prisoner. And they went through the house looking for incriminating evidence. So they went into the Rebbe's daughter's room, and they were tearing everything apart. And the Rebbe was sitting at the table. He was having dinner, and he would not, interrupt. Like, you go do what you do. I'm eating dinner. And he hears his daughters arguing with the officials. What kind of life is this? Just because you have a bigger weapon doesn't mean you can abuse people of higher status, of higher standards, of noble living, and you think you can use brute force. So the Rebbe writes, previous Rebbe writes, that he was very proud of his daughter. They were young girls. He was very proud of his daughter, but he said to her, "You are speaking from will, not from intelligence. In other words, you're so desperate to protect me that you think you can reason with these people. But no, you can't reason with them. So your mind knows that this is not going to help, but you want so much to do something, so you're making this argument, but thank you for your effort. It's a waste of time." Sometimes we argue from our head, logical argument, a reasonable argument, an intelligent, and sometimes the argument is not even coming from your head. It's coming from your pain. So when a person says, the Torah, what makes you think it's any better than any? That's your pain talking, not your brain. There's a difference. Pain is not the same as brain. So just check to see whether it's your brain speaking or it's your pain. And when we hear people say things that are nasty, cynical, a little bit anti-Semitic, it's the pain talking, not the person. So there's no need to get offended or frightened or self-righteous about it. You're hearing the pain. What do you expect? All these people in America who are hiding their identities, they're just 2 generations removed from those people in Europe who had very good reason to hide their identities and didn't, which is something to be proud of. I heard this incredibly beautiful incident. During the Gulf War, the United States was sending soldiers into Saudi Arabia and into other Arab countries. They were told that their dog tags that identify them has a letter, one letter printed in the tag that that tells you whether they're Jewish or not. Because in case a soldier gets killed, they have to know where to bury him. So every Jewish soldier had an H printed in his dog tag called Hebrew. That was the code for Jewish. When the soldiers were going off to the Arab countries, they offered an alternative. They made up some other code, I forget what it was, that would identify them as Jewish, but nobody would know. So in case he gets captured by Arabs, they wouldn't torture him, they wouldn't, they would just treat him the way they would any other American. So the chaplain who was giving out these dog tags had a meeting with all the Jewish soldiers and said that there's a box at the door. As you leave, take one of those alternative dog tags and wear it in action. The chaplain was so emotional when he told the story. He said, afterwards, I went and looked at the box, It hadn't been touched. The Jewish soldier said, no, we're Jewish and we're not going to hide it. It was amazingly beautiful. Awesome. I mean, that's real pride. That's putting your life on the line.
If you enjoyed this conversation or this topic, and you're looking for more information, or you want to hear it again from another angle, there is a way to do that. And that is in this book. It's all there. Order it from Amazon. You can read it, reread it, and share it. We have a Sunday night program for VIPs that you might be interested in. It's informal. It's questions and answers. It's conversation. It's really relaxed. It's really pleasant, enjoyable, informative, and kind of community-like. It's a Sunday night program. There's a Wednesday morning program for the VIPs, and there's a Wednesday night program. All of it just conversation, casual, laid back, unscripted. So join us, take a look, click the link below and see which of the three suits you best, and join us for some enjoyable conversation.